I recently opened a session sent to me specifically for mixing. The band is talented. The song is heavy. They paid the deposit. I was excited to work on it. I unzip the folder, I open my DAW, and my heart immediately sinks. Inside the folder were 97 audio files. Not a single one was named kick or snare or guitar. They were named audio_01, audio_02, and rec_66. But that wasn't the worst part. When I dragged them into the timeline, it looked like a jigsaw puzzle that someone dropped on the floor. Nothing lined up. Clips started at measure 5, measure 12, measure 54. This wasn't a mixing session. It was a crime scene. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why sending files like this is the quickest way to get your project canceled, or at least why it's going to cost you double what you thought it would. If you're a DIY band planning to hire a mixer, you need to watch this video so you don't become the horror story I tell next year. So what's up, everyone? I'm Dan from Liquid Studios. On this channel, we talk about music production and promotion for metal bands. My goal is to help you get your recording sounding professional so you can actually get booked. Today, we're talking about the unsexy, boring, tedious part of recording that literally determines if your record sounds good or not, and that's session prep. So let's go back to that folder I opened. I want to explain exactly what happened so you understand the gravity of this. The band had recorded this themselves. That is totally fine. I encourage that. But they didn't treat the recording phase as capture. They treated it as editing. Because they didn't know how to consolidate their tracks, which is just a fancy word for making the file one long continuous wave, they sent me the raw clips exactly where they punched in. So imagine the lead guitar track. Instead of one file, I received 30 little snippets. Snippet A is the intro, snippet B is the verse riff, snippet C is the solo. But because they didn't consolidate from 0, I have no idea where snippet C goes. Does it start on beat 1, beat 2? Is it a pickup note? I wasn't mixing. I wasn't EQing the snare to make it crack. I wasn't adding saturation to the bass. I was doing data entry. I was solving a puzzle I didn't ask to solve. And it gets worse. Once I finally lined everything up, I started soloing the tracks. Because they hadn't prepped the session, they hadn't checked their crossfades. Every time the bassist punched in for a chorus, click. Every time the vocalist took a breath in between lines, pop. The rhythm guitars, they weren't edited tight to the grid, so the breakdown sounded like shoes in a dryer. Here's the thing a lot of bands don't want to hear. You cannot mix a bad edit. There's no plug in the world that magically fixes sloppy. There's no compressor that fixes a digital click in the middle of a sustained power chord. When you send a mixer a file that has clicks, pops, and bad timing, you are effectively telling them, I don't care about the song, but I hope you do. Now let's talk about money, because this is usually what gets people's attention. When you hire a mixer, you're paying them for their ears. You're paying for their taste. You're paying for their ability to balance frequencies and create impact. You're not paying them to be your editor. When this band sent me these files, I had two choices. I could either send the files back and say, I can't work with this, fix it, which delays the release, or I fix it myself. I chose option 2 because I wanted to help them, but I had to charge them an additional editing fee. That project cost them significantly more than they budgeted for. Why? Because they didn't take the 30 minutes to clean up their room before inviting guests over. If I spend 5 hours cleaning up your noise floor and aligning your drums, that's 5 hours of creative energy I'm not spending on making your mix sound huge. So how do you avoid being that guy? How do you make sure your mixer loves you and prioritizes your project? You need to follow the 3 golden rules of file transfer. Rule 1 is commit and consolidate. I don't care what DAW you use, Reaper, Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase, they all have a function to consolidate or render tracks. Every single file you send should start at 0. Even if the guitar solo doesn't happen until minute 3, that file should start at 0 and be silent until minute 3. This ensures that when I drop it into my session, it lands exactly where you played it. No guessing. Rule number 2, clean your house. Before you bounce those files, listen to them in solo. Do you hear a click at the punch-in point? Crossfade it. Do you hear the singer coughing before the verse starts? Delete it. Do you hear amp buzz during the quiet bridge? Gate it or trim it. Send me the music, not the noise. Rule 3, label clearly. Audio_01 means nothing to me. Rhythm guitar left DI tells me exactly what it is and where it goes. Snare top tells me exactly what it is. Labeling your tracks takes you 5 minutes. Figuring out what recording_44 is takes me 20 minutes. Multiply that by 10 songs, and you're wasting hours of my life. Look, I know this stuff isn't fun. Nobody starts a metal band because they're passionate about file management and crossfades. You want to shred. I get it. But if you want your record to compete with the big bands, you have to act like a pro before the mix even starts. If you're listening to this and you're realizing you have no idea how to actually prepare your tracks, do not panic. I've done the work for you. I have a completely free mix prep guide linked in the description below. It's a checklist that walks you through exactly how to consolidate, label, and export your tracks so that any mixer will be happy to work with you. Download that guide. Use it. Don't be the horror story. Thanks for watching. Now go clean up your sessions.